Recording. There we go. It is 7:05. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Bob, do you want to be responsible for letting folks in? Do you feel like you can? Actually, Carol is the vice chair.
She's closer to the maps than I am.
Yeah, there you go. Important responsibilities I need to train you on.
Oh, boy.
All right, everybody. So, I am Deb Travis. I am the chair of Bronx Community Board 8 Parks and Recreation Committee. I have a few housekeeping items for the discussion. So as a community board committee, we loosely follow Robert's Rules of Order. We will be following the agenda that was previously distributed. If we open a topic to general discussion, we ask that if you'd like to speak, that you raise your hand and I will call on you. Our goal is to have a good, robust discussion of our agenda items. However, if we have too many people or a lot of people who'd like to speak on any individual topic, you may only get to speak once, so make sure to make it count. If you're not speaking, we ask that you keep yourself muted to prevent background noise from interrupting others. If you're on Zoom, to raise your hand, you will select reactions at the bottom of the screen. If you're on the phone, *6 to mute and unmute, and *9 to raise your hand. I'm going to do roll call of the committee members. Bob Bender.
Here.
Carol Blake.
Here.
Miriam Filer.
Here.
And I'm Deb Travis. So we're all present. And then I went through as the meeting was, as folks were logging in and get started. I have documented Gabriela Durasmo, Anna Killian, Helen Coe, Ari Gershman, Rayhanul Islam, Ruju Joshi, Francisco Ruella, Devin Phillips, Stephanie Ehrlich, Valerie Davis, Anthony Macari, Alexander Hahn, Christina Taylor, and Janelle Edwards. Is there anybody I missed? All right, perfect. So I'd like to thank you all for joining us this evening. It's great to see you. I know it's late and you've had long days, so I really appreciate you joining us this evening. Next, I'd like to approve the minutes of the October 22nd committee meeting, which were distributed to community members ahead of the meeting. Does anybody have any changes? If there are no objections, I move to approve the minutes that were not amended by unanimous consent. So the minutes of October 22nd committee meeting are unanimously approved. So for the chair's report, two things. The first is that there have been a lot of complaints about litter around the reservoir. If you've been at any of the main board events, board meetings, or executive committee, there's been substantial litter, and I guess this is really primarily for Valerie, just to make sure that you're aware that particularly little doggy poop bags, all of the same color, are being plopped all the way down Sedgwick Avenue and in Fort Independence Park. So if we're working with Joe and to see what we can do, and we're mostly working with, I think, the Environment and Sanitation Committee, because I think sanitation is going to be our best bet since we don't have a fixed post person at Fort Independence or at Fort Ford to pick these little bags up, and they seem to just accumulate over and over again. The second thing is the Seton Park Dog Run. We've been getting a lot of feedback about poor conditions of the Seton Park Dog Run. I just want to make sure the word is out to everybody that the Seton Park Dog Run, as far as I'm aware, does not have a standing dog run group, but it does seem to have a lot of passionate people who care about that dog run. So if you are one of those folks who uses the dog run and cares about it passionately, please reach out to the board office if you're interested in forming a dog run group. Doesn't need to be anything formal. It just needs to be a point of contact for hey Greg. It just needs to be a point of contact for the Parks Department and to help administer dog runs. So that's all that is. So first up on the agenda tonight is a presentation from the New York City Department of Design and Construction on the public restroom building at Van Cortlandt Park. So who will be presenting? And we'll have to just unmute them.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, everyone. This is Anna Killian. I work for New York City Department of Design and Construction. I'm with the Outreach and Notification team. I want to first of all thank everybody for, especially the community board, district manager, and chair, and members for allowing us to present. We are going to present for the Van Cortlandt Public Restrooms in Van Cortlandt Park. I have with me tonight Ray Islam from Armand Corp, who will be sharing that presentation. Ray, would you please share the presentation? Does he have permission to share the screen? Or will the board be doing that?
He'll be sharing his screen.
Okay.
And then what was the name of the agency?
We're DDC, New York
Oh
City.
yeah, I mean Ray. Ray is with which?
Armand Corp.
Okay.
Ray, are you able to speak?
Yes, I'm able to speak. I'm presenting. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Francisco, will you be talking through this, or Megavi?
Oh, I apologize. I thought, Ray, you would be
Yeah, that's
presenting
fine.
tonight. Whoever's presenting, please introduce yourself, your name and title to the board.
I can talk through this, not a problem. Hi everyone, good evening. Thank you for allowing us to present this evening. We're presenting for the Van Cortlandt Park Public Restroom Building. This is a part of a bundle of projects. Let me move on to the next screen. So this is a design build contract to construct a new public restroom building at Van Cortlandt Park. The building is approximately 720 square feet with a men's room, women's restroom, and a mechanical room. The building is designed to be modern, ADA compliant, and energy efficient. This is a multi-site project, as I said. It includes 4 other restrooms throughout the city in Queens and Manhattan as well. The rough location is shown in this satellite image, as well as on the right-hand side. If you're entering the park from West 252nd Street and Broadway, the restroom building will be located right just next to that pedestrian walkway. Okay, moving on. This is the layout of the restroom building. As I've said before, the women's restroom on the left-hand side, men's restroom on the right-hand side, and the mechanical room in the center. Okay, moving on. These are some of the elevations and somewhat realistic coloring of the building. This is another view of the interior. And realistic rendering of what the building will look like once we're completed. The project schedule, we started the design in May of 2025. We submitted to PDC in November. The construction is expected to start in early 2026, in the spring of 2026, and we're expecting substantial completion by the end of 2026. So, thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We are requesting a letter of resolution, but at this time, we would like to open the floor for any questions from the board or your members.
Sorry, just lowering his hand there so I could see your face. Any questions? Yeah.
I have a question. I was wondering whether you consider putting a family bathroom in there, like a space where, you know, you could take a stroller, you know what I mean? Like it's a park where lots of families goes. I'm just curious if you thought about that. You have a women's, a men's, and maybe a family area that we have in some parks.
So I do have on the call tonight Helen Cole, which is the TDC Senior Project Manager. Helen, would you be able to elaborate on it being a bundle and why it is only going to be a women's and men's bathroom, please?
Sure. So I can speak initially, and then Devin from Parks is here as well, and he can chime in if I missed anything. So this is a part of a bundle of 5 restroom buildings we're building in parks throughout 3 boroughs, and these are prototypes that were pre-designed by Parks, and so they're developed. This design builder actually did not design this. It was already at a pre-schematic level when it was presented and awarded the job to them. There are baby changing stations in both the men's and women's restroom, but at this time, because it's already been designed, we are not considering a family restroom.
Thank you. Do we have
Any
more-
other
Yes.
questions? Bob?
Excuse me, it's my understanding that the underground plumbing for the restroom was already in place going back several years. Is that accurate, and does that have any effect on the timetable for construction?
Well, we are running all new plumbing, all new utilities for this restroom. We're not using any existing, if there are any.
Oh, okay, so you have to make a new sewer connection to the street.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Can you go back to just the drawing where you showed where it was? Because I think that's the question I get asked the most, and I just want to make sure I am clear about that. It's at 252nd Street, you said. So that is below the Henry Hudson.
Mhm.
Oh, I see. So it's at the
track.
it's the very top of the parade grounds. Got you. Okay. So I see it's over by K9 Court. Is that kind of essentially it's just a hop, skip, and a jump away?
Right.
Two things that might be simple since you've come to ask us our opinion. The first one is that I think it might be helpful. I know that these designs, these bathrooms or restrooms are all the same design. I do think it would be helpful if they just had air compression that was available for folks with their bikes. It doesn't seem like that much of an addition, but since you've got mechanical and electrical and the ability to kind of hide the air compressor inside the building, and certainly the Parks Department would have a use for that. I think it would be helpful to have that for bikes. Like just air compression for bikes, maybe a little bike fix-it station, considering the greenway is right there. The other thing is that I know in Fort Independence Park we have a drinking fountain, and the drinking fountain has a little doggy bowl at the bottom that's also fed by the drinking fountain, the water fountain, and people love it. And it's been really beneficial because it mostly stops people with large dogs from using the people drinking fountain because they can reach it. And you'll never use a public drinking fountain again once you've watched a pit bull have at it. So I know that these come with kind of a standard drinking fountain on the front, but I just wanted to put that out there that it's been very well received in our park, and since it's so close to the dog run there, it might be a nice amenity nearby.
We will bring that question to Parks, but I think, Ray, can you go back to the slide with the water fountains? Because they did include an ADA accessible water fountain with a water bottle for
Right,
it.
there's a higher one and a lower one.
Yes. Well, one is for a water bottle filter, if I'm
Water filler.
corrected, Helen. Yes. One is for water bottle and one is for drinking fountain. It's just lower because I believe it's for ADA accessible.
Right.
But
Yeah, I don't know how. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I do not believe at this time they can make any changes to the design, even though that sounds like a wonderful suggestion. But we will bring that to Parks for a response regarding the
Okay.
water fountain for the doggies.
Okay.
Why is it not possible to make a change to design since you're coming before the community for feedback?
These, as Helen stated, these designs were already created They're all the same, exactly identical to the same for the parks, for every single park.
And there's no park where you have this restroom design, and there's also a small bowl at the bottom of the water fountain for dogs?
At
Not
this time,
not that are integrated with the building. So just to clarify a little bit, this is a design build project, and so we actually awarded this both the design, like the completion of the design and construction to a single entity. So that's Ray Hanoulis here representing Armand, and so yeah, there is non-integrated with the building at the time.
Is compressed air asking too much as well? I mean, 'cause I understand this is the exact same restroom we have in Fort Independence. This is the exact same restroom we have in Fort Ford.
Yankee Stadium.
Yankee Stadium. It would have been great if there had been a actual just coming to the community board to talk about this design, so that we could have given this kind of feedback like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and then spread it all over the city, and it would have felt efficient. So, but that like if like small things like air compressor, is that also just too much, a bridge too far?
I think it's the same situation where there can't be any changes made at this time.
Okay. That's a good question. Yeah.
What is the cost of building this restroom?
I believe we can go back. I believe we have that on the slide, or would Helen be able to respond to that question, please?
The site.
It's not on the slide, but Ray, do you have the estimate on hand?
I do not. I apologize, but I do recall it somewhere in the between $2 and $3 million.
How much? Two or three?
2 and 3, yeah.
That's a pretty big range.
I will get the confirmed number and email it back to the board.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
I think, considering that the design is standardized, it would be helpful to see more of what the ground plan is. I mean, is there a path leading up to it? Like, what kind of permeable surface is there? Is that sidewalk existing that's in this drawings?
The plaza in front would be a brand new plaza. What you see here in the sort of white beige is actually an existing path that we're going to redo. And that would extend toward the front of the building.
So the cars that I'm seeing behind the restroom, is that Broadway?
That is Broadway, yes.
Yeah, Bob.
We have both Stephanie and Christina on the call, right?
Yes.
There is a paved path that runs from Broadway down into the park, pretty much to the track around the parade grounds, which I believe is at 252nd Street. Stephanie or Christina, am I correct that this restroom is going to be located down at the bottom of that path? Yes, that looks like it right there.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
And what is that structure just to the north? That I'm seeing that little box just above the red box, or the red outline.
That is what we understand is an existing pump station.
It's a pump station?
Yep.
I see. Huh. The things you don't notice until
Can I ask another question?
Yeah.
When I was just looking at that sketch, I realized that there's no lighting around there. Are you putting in lighting or something around the bathroom? When you go back to the other sketch with the road, yeah, that one. Are you putting lighting in?
We're not putting any. We're not installing any site lighting, but there will be exterior light fixtures, as you can see here.
Oh, okay.
These are light fixtures all around the building. Great.
And then, Stephanie, can you speak to the hours that the restroom will be open?
They'll just be the same hours that other restrooms in the park are open, which
Is that
changes
9
with
in
this
the-
season. It changes
Oh,
with
yeah.
this season, yeah.
It goes to as late as 10 and as early as 6, something like that? Is that the range?
No, restrooms are never open as late as 10. I think 9 is the latest they go in summer.
Okay.
And they generally open at 7, is that correct, Stephanie? 7
Yeah.
a.m.?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Another question, but it's
Yeah.
a general question. Who maintains the bathrooms? Is that the Parks Department? Is that Van Cortlandt? Who does that?
All restrooms in Van Cortlandt Park are maintained by NYC Parks.
So to go back to the site plan for a second, then are you planting any shrubs or any greenery around the building itself to kind of soften the edges, or will it just be on its own right there? I don't know if Stephanie cringes at the thought that I'm thinking about shrubs, but is there any landscaping around it, or is it just really you're gonna put this building, pop the building down, plug it in, and replace the grass up to the edge?
We are still finalizing some of those elements, especially the planting. There is some requirement for stormwater management. So yes, we are looking into that, into some additional planting around the restroom building.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? Bob? Carol? Okay. So then, I think they need a letter. What we'll do is a resolution in support of the restroom. Bob, just a point of reference, should we do just a letter, or does it make sense to do a whole resolution? I guess we could do a whole resolution for the board.
Well, the first question is, what's their timetable? When do they need it by?
Oh, that's a good question. Anna, when do you need the resolution by?
Helen, I do believe Helen, our project manager, is looking for this letter as soon as possible. I think we're going to PDC as early as January.
Yeah, in agreement with Anna, as soon as possible would be much appreciated. We have gone to PDC, but we are awaiting the letter to finalize with PDC.
So January 13th is our next board meeting.
Yeah.
What we've done in the past is we've sent them the resolution from the committee to say that it had passed the committee, and then we brought it to the board
Right.
for the final. So that way they had preliminary approval to move forward.
Yeah, no, we can always do that, as long as it's clear it's on behalf of the committee
Yeah.
and not the board. Is January 13th too late, or January 14th too late for you for a letter from the community board?
If we could do the one from your specific board and then follow up with the full board, that would be preferred.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I'd like to put forward a motion to approve the restroom as designed 3 years ago. Anybody opposed?
No.
Okay. So we'll send, so thank you for the presentation. Please send a copy of the presentation to the board office so that I can include it in the minutes.
I will, and I'll get the numbers back to you as well. Thank you, everyone. Have a safe night.
Thank you. Have a good night. So the resolution passed unanimously. And we'll send to them tomorrow. January. All right. Next up, New York City Department of Parks and Recreation, the planting team, talking about tree planting in Kingsbridge Heights, Van Cortlandt Village, and Van Cortlandt Park. Who are our folks who will be speaking to this?
I will be speaking to this tonight.
Oh, wonderful.
And yeah, thank you so much for inviting me to this discussion. My name is Gabriela Durasmo. and I'm a correspondence liaison for New York City Parks Forestry. As you mentioned, I'm here to talk today about our new comprehensive neighborhood tree planting program, along with the upcoming and in-process tree plantings in Community Board 8. We are transitioning to a neighborhood tree planting program in order to plant every possible space within the city right of way on a 9-year cycle. And through this program, Parks Foresters will service entire blocks, creating new tree beds along with removing dead and dying trees and stumps to ensure that each neighborhood is fully stocked with trees before moving on to the next. Currently, we are planting every possible location between Van Cortlandt Park South, Van Cortlandt Park West, and Sedgwick Avenue, along with a couple of trees near Van Cortlandt Park along Van Cortlandt Park South and Broadway. This is during our ongoing fall planting season, which runs from October and typically ends around December. We also have a spring planting season, which runs from around March to June. And once the neighborhood tree planting program is in full effect, which will be in 2027, we will be planting more trees within Community Board 8 as well. Maps of our tree planting plans are grouped into 3 phases, representing the approximate areas we're going to be planting in each phase. And this is all listed on the New York City Parks Tree Planting website. And during the first phase of our program, we'll be planting the rest of Van Cortlandt Village, Marble Hill, Kingsbridge, and Kingsbridge Heights. And we're primarily focusing on the Kingsbridge, Marble Hill neighborhood region because there is a heat vulnerability index rating of 4. This is data collected from the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, and it just means that, you know, the community members have a higher chance of heat-related illnesses. So that's why we are trying to prioritize these high HVI locations. And
that was Marble Hill. That was Marble Hill and Kingsbridge.
Yeah, like Marble Hill and Kingsbridge, and then the rest of Van Cortlandt Village as well, and Kingsbridge Heights. And all of these locations and maps can be found on our parks website, which I can potentially add to the chat. I don't know if there is a chat option here, or I can send it to the board directly as well.
Yeah, just send it to the board and we'll include it in the minutes.
Okay.
And when you say 2027, do you mean fiscal year 2027 or starting January 2027?
So it's like a range because it depends on our contract productivity. The first phase of the program ranges from 2027 to 2029. So that would be January 2027 to December of 2029. So we don't have like the exact time frame yet, but it will be within that first phase.
Right. I was just wondering if there was going to be a spring planting season in 2027, and it sounds like yes.
Yes. Yeah. And like all of our upcoming planting locations will be on the website too. So once we get closer to spring 2027, those should be posted as well.
Okay. Anything else you want to say before I start to turn it over to questions?
No, I don't think so. Yeah. Let me know if you have any questions about this.
Questions?
Is there a certain budget?
Oh wait, there I gotta call on folks. Bob, you're first.
Yeah, 2 questions. First question, you said 4. What's the scale?
For the heat index.
For the heat index.
Oh, the scale ranges from 1 to 5.
And where it's good and where it's bad? Is 1 bad and 5 is good, or vice versa?
Thank you for this clarifying question. 5 is not like bad and 1 is good. And this can be found on the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene's website as well.
Thank you. That's a website I've never seen. So, but thank you for telling me about that. My other question is the tree planting. What types of trees are you going to be planting?
We plant like a variety of trees throughout the city. I believe that we plant like around 200 different types of species and cultivars throughout the city. And these species will be posted on New York City Parks tree map after planting. So everyone can view what species are in each particular location there.
Okay, and one more question.
Mm-hmm.
Could you please make sure that female ginkgo trees are not on the list?
Yeah, no, we no longer plant female ginkgo trees. So yeah, don't you worry.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Anybody who's familiar with them knows why I asked that question. Thank you.
Carol?
Are there any particular trees that are actually, good for like anyone with asthma, the environment? I know the areas you mentioned are highly saturated with, people, and the Bronx does have a, high record of asthma. So are there any particular trees that you're planting that will benefit like that particular issue?
That's a good question. I would have to get back to you on the specifics, but overall, planting trees helps clean the air as well. So like in turn, it can help with asthma. Some folks do experience allergies due to tree planting, and that's like primarily what concerns some constituents. But like most allergies from trees, it's only like within a couple of weeks that they produce pollen, and then throughout the rest of the year, other plants produce pollen. And overall, the benefits of planting trees outweigh like the allergies. And yeah, like planting, like one tree in front of someone's house is also not going to make like a significant impact on allergies as well, as most pollen comes from natural areas.
I have one more question.
Oh yeah, Carol, what's your question?
Are these trees considered low maintenance? Because like there's some trees around, the neighborhood where there's like sap droppings, or they're just like they make, kind of like I don't know what it is on the floor, but is it those type of trees that's being planted or no?
We plant a variety of species to diversify our urban forest. So I can't speak on behalf of, like exactly what trees are being planted in Community Board 8. But as for any maintenance concerns, New York City Parks does perform the larger maintenance tasks as trees mature, but adjacent property owners are responsible for any like cleaning of like the sidewalk or the tree bed, which would be regardless of whether a tree is present or not.
Thank you.
Craig, you had a question?
Sure. Is there a specific, first of all, this is great. It's good. It's really good to hear about what you guys are doing. Is there a specific budget that you guys are working through? And is there like a tree goal, like, when Bloomberg did his, 1 million tree thing, things like that? Or is this just standard maintenance that you guys would be doing anyway, that kind of thing?
No, that's a great question. We do have funding that comes through from the mayor's office, along with other sources of funding. And these funding allocations are put into contracts, which are usually broken up by specific community boards. As for our tree planting program, we do aim to plant at least 16,000 trees each year. And yeah, we are just trying to plant as many trees as possible. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
So 2027 to 2029 is the new contract. And we've been talking about a lot about tree planting, but what about tree inspection and stump removal and also just do you make adjustments to the tree beds to make the tree bed this new standard size, like as you're replacing trees? So is the inspection do you remove trees, I guess is my first question, as part of this contract or a different contract? Or a coordinated contract, and then is stump removal part of this coordinated planting process?
Yeah, so through the neighborhood tree planting program, we will be removing stumps and trees through the process. And if we can replant that stump or that like dead tree, we will. Also, through our neighborhood tree planting program, we will have funding to repair like any unplantable tree beds as well with concrete. And I mean, that comes on a case by case basis as well. But yeah, we're trying to service entire neighborhoods and do as much work as possible.
So tell me about this idea of an unplantable tree bed. You just,
Yeah,
is that what, did I understand you correctly? You were just saying that some tree beds, you don't replant them, you pave them over?
Yeah, so we take a lot of different factors into consideration before selecting planting sites. And we have a list of guidelines that we follow just so that we make sure that street infrastructure is considered as well as utilities. And, you know, sometimes street infrastructure or utilities change over time. So we have to, you know, take that into consideration. And just because a tree was there previously, it doesn't necessarily mean that we can plant there, you know, given our new guidelines.
So I know that we've got a fair number of tree beds that are very close to the street. And so, you know, usually the previous tree that was there is dead because it got hit by car doors. Do you still, would you still, if you've got a tree bed that's close to the street, is that a consideration as to whether you would replace the tree or not?
That's a good question. We are trying to expand our tree beds to be as large as possible. So with a larger tree bed, ideally the tree would be closer to like the sidewalk and to like, you know, any buildings that might be present. But like it all comes on a case by case basis, and our foresters take all of these factors into consideration. We want to make sure that we're planting trees that will last and thrive. Yeah.
So ideally, then, if you can, you move it back from the street. And if there's not a lot of space, you try to make the tree bed as large as possible. Is that that's kind of what I'm hearing?
Yeah, yeah. And if there are any like specific questions about like a particular site, we'd be happy to address those as well. It's just kind of hard since, you know, it depends on like a ton of different factors.
So one thing I wanted to ask you about was the Drone Park Reservoir that has a lot of very old pin oaks. And so there's been this multi-year project to remove 4 to 5 of the trees a year and then replace them. So I think so I wanted to find out how that, like we've had done, I think 2 site walks with forestry around the reservoir, both when they initially told us about the removal of the trees because most of the trees are end of life or not in good condition. And that they didn't want to remove all of the trees that were in poor condition all at once because it would just be kind of a shock to the system for the community because we're used to these beautiful towering pin oaks. So I wanted to hear from you of so some of these standing projects where there've been this kind of replacement of trees that were planned to be done over the course of 2 or 3 years. Is that still happening, or is that kind of that plan out the window because of this new program?
I would have to get back to you on that because I do want to make sure that I, you know, provide like a thorough answer here, and I don't know too much about that particular site. But it might be separate from the neighborhood tree planting program. Yeah, so I'll have to get back to you. Maybe I can provide you with my email and yeah, if you can email me that question, I can direct it to the right folks.
Okay. Any other questions? And I missed it with the tree beds. You do expand the tree bed to the new size if it's a smaller one, yes?
It's like on a case by case basis. Typically if you know we are planting there, we will try to expand it to be as large as possible. I would have to get back to you regarding expanding like existing tree beds because I think it does depend on each contract.
Okay. And so if a person, so we do lose trees all the time, right? And you're saying this is going to be a 9-year process, 9-year cycle. So you're going to come through in 2027, you're going to replace a bunch of trees, and then in a couple of years, we're going to say, hey, a tree's going to come down, and we're going to want a replacement. What are our options for a site where the tree is gone or is a stump?
Yeah, so all of our tree plantings will be under guarantee for the first year. So if for any reason like a recently planted tree dies during that first year period, we will replace it. As for like replacing trees after we are done servicing the entire block, it'll have to wait until we are working in the neighborhood again through our neighborhood tree planting program. Or there are a couple other options. Folks can apply for a free tree work permit with parks and hire a private contractor to plant trees. And there's also a program called New York Tree Time, which is like a program of New York City Parks and City Parks Foundation, and they plant trees for tax deductible donations.
Okay, so you can hire a private contractor and you just need to request a permit with the Parks Department?
Yes.
So what if you just plant your own tree? Because we see that all the time, right? Where folks will just plop a tree into a tree pit. If you're say you are going to be doing a bunch of planting in this district in 2027, so not this year but the coming, and you come across somebody's random holly tree that they planted on 238th Street or wherever, like in Kingsbridge, are you going to remove the tree that's not a tree you would ever plant and put in a tree you would plant, or are you going to leave it alone?
Yeah, that's a great question. It does come on like a case by case basis, but typically if we didn't receive a tree work permit from Parks and it's not like a species that is best suited for the space, we may like remove the tree or the shrub in order to plant another a tree or shrub or not shrub, a tree that is the best for the space, if that makes sense, so that we can expand our urban canopy.
Right. So it's if you go and it's a pin oak or something that you would probably have planted anyway, you've made, and it's in good shape, and it's, it seems well planted, even if there was no permit pulled, you may decide to leave it. But if it's a plant or a shrub or a rose bush or something you would never have put there, then it'll likely get pulled out and you'll put something that's a shade tree.
Yeah, no, exactly. And also, even if it is like a pin oak per se as well, it does need to meet New York City Parks specs. So
Right.
typically we do plant trees that are 2 inches or 2 to 4 inches
Right.
in caliper. So and it has to be like a certain height as well. So yeah, it does come on a case by case basis, but if there is like a shrub or something that we wouldn't put there, we might remove it.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? That was really helpful. And do you recommend tree guards? Like as we're putting in these new trees in some of these neighborhoods, would this be a good moment for those neighborhoods to request funds for tree guards around their new trees? Or would you say don't wait, don't touch the tree beds and when they're still under their 2-year initial contract?
Anyone is welcome to also submit a free tree work permit for tree guards as well. And there's like a couple ways that folks can install them through like an independent contractor, as I said before, or through Tree Time. And then also some council districts also provide funding for tree guards. So that might be another option too. But yeah, we do try to, primarily add tree guards when it will definitely impact the health of the tree. So like if a site is in a very busy area and we think that the tree bed will get compacted, then like we might add a tree guard at that location.
Okay. But you always recommend guards with possible either through private funding. Okay. I want to highlight that Cat Rock just put a bunch of tree guards around trees over by the reservoir and installed them today, yes?
Today,
Yeah.
yes. Technically it was Washington's Walk Coalition, but yes, Cat Rock and a couple others.
And Washington Walk Coalition. Yeah. So thank you for that.
Put in 4 tree guards today, and we did it through Big Reuse, and So they were like $375 for a tree guard rather than like $3,000 for a tree guard.
Oh, my God.
So that was wonderful. And we did it with our hands and got everything in and maybe in a future meeting we can share some pictures. But it's a pilot. We'll have 6. They're right in front of Fort Park, outside the park. And planted some bulbs and things like that in there as well. And we'll see how the community reacts to them and if they like them, and hopefully we can do many more.
Yeah, so thank you for that. It was, I'm sure, a lot of work.
Yeah, it was fun. I'm tired.
I'm sure. Speaking of being tired, anybody have any more questions for Gabriella so she can get on with her evening? All right. Thank you so much. It's been very informative, and I really appreciate you coming and giving us more information about this program. You know, we love our trees over here in CBA.
No, thank you.
Have a good night.
You too. Thanks again.
Let's see. So next up, so request for comments regarding the scope of the RFP for Van Cortlandt Golf Course concession. Alex Hahn and Angel, I see you there. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Deb. Appreciate you having us and inviting us to attend this meeting. Before we begin, before I came to this meeting, I ran into our commissioner, Iris Rodriguez Rosa, who wanted me to extend her best wishes to Bob and to Deb. She remembers both of you fondly, and she also reminded me that her first meeting as Parks Commissioner was with Bronx CB8.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
That's
And
right.
she still loves you. That's good.
That's right.
Wow. Well, so the context for this meeting or this discussion is that we received a request for comments regarding the RFP for the renewal of the Van Cortlandt Golf Course concession. And I guess I don't know, Alex, if you want to speak to it or if Angel wants to speak to it, but like it sounds like do you want to speak to when the concession is expiring and kind of like basically just set the table for what is known? I know that you often, you ask for comments and stuff, and that you are still in the process of putting together the RFP, so there may not be a lot to share, but I would love to know anything that is already known or given.
Sure. And that's great context. And thank you for sort of, helping to sort of set the conversation. The current agreement for the golf course concession will expire on June 30th, 2027. And so typically about a year or so in advance of the expiration of a concession, and that's not just golf courses, it's any concession, Parks would start our consultation with the community boards and the borough presidents and other electeds. And then we would issue the RFP for that particular concession opportunity for the next license term. And so that was the notice that we had sent to you all, soliciting your comments, any thoughts, any questions, any other feedback that you may have for the future RFP. I do, we spoke about the horse stables in Van Cortlandt a couple of years ago, and that particular RFP. And I just wanted to, sort of remind everyone again, we can't share what we are going to ask for in the future RFP, and that's in order to preserve the competitive nature of the process. We don't want any potential proposers who may be attending this meeting, where and some others who may not be, to receive information in advance of what the future RFP may request. However, we do want to engage with you and get your feedback and your thoughts on what the RFP should include, and we may want to ask for in that overall package. So that's why we're here today.
So to set the table a little bit, the committee had a really great discussion. I think it was 2 years ago now, regarding the Van Cortlandt Golf Course and kind of the condition of it. And there were a few things that we raised then. One of them was the birding bridge. So the birding bridge is it's a pedestrian bridge for hikers. But it's also a bridge that has a totally separate little lane for golf carts to go over so that they can get to I don't know what holes those are. Does anybody know what holes those are? Get over to the other holes on the other over in
Sure.
the wet in the wetlands side of the golf course. And so when we last spoke, I know that there was that Stephanie was working to get funding and raise more attention. We were hoping to get more attention for the Birding Bridge. Can you give us an update or maybe of like what's the state of that? Is that still considered part of this concession or is it a separate project?
Well, the bridge itself is on the premises for the concession, as you know, because it is used by both golfers and by the general public. But with respect to the future plans for that, I do want to defer to Stephanie, the park administrator, along with Tony McCary, our deputy director of concessions, architecture, and development, working with all of our concessionaires and their development plans. But why don't we start with Stephanie to sort of provide any information she may have regarding funding for future projects, and then Tony can speak a little bit more about what specifically we are considering for the future term here. So, Stephanie.
Sure. So as you know, there is about $500,000 that was allocated for the bridge years ago at this point. And so that is there. And then, as I understand it, there is some Croton mitigation funding that will go toward this, but I'm not sure what that number is, but there is definitely something that will go toward the bridge.
So is that still in the fundraising part, or have we moved at least into kind of design? Is it in a design phase at all yet? No.
No, there's no design phase yet. So I think actually maybe Tony can talk a little bit about the timing.
Sure. So I believe they're in pre-engineering stage, so they're looking to secure an engineer, and they would put together the design package and the estimate and determine how much is needed. So this is typically a multi-year process. So we do anticipate the work for the new bridge would happen within the new license term. So we'll put placeholders in the license term to coordinate with that capital project to replace the bridge. And in the meantime, the concessionaire would be responsible for maintaining the existing bridge. So those things will all be included in the RFP and the subsequent license agreement.
So would the concessionaire be expected to pay for put in substantial capital money towards the bridge, or is the bridge? I mean, I guess it's maybe a chicken or the egg. You don't know how much it's going to cost yet because you haven't done the pre-engineering. But are you anticipating that might be part of it? You don't have to say yes or no, but that might be part of the concession package, or is it you consider it funded primarily, and we shouldn't worry about it as even a budget priority for ourselves as we're looking ahead to our next fiscal year budget priorities?
No matter what, we're assuming there's going to be some kind of gap between whatever the capital project was and the integration with the golf course. So that's the kind of language we'll put generally into the agreement that the concessionaire would basically mitigate whatever or plan for any gaps in the capital project.
Okay. And then right now I'll just say as feedback, right now that bridge is bifurcated. There's a part of it that's for the carts and there's a little narrow part for the hikers. And it seems like it needs to be just much more integrated. I don't know. I know that probably nobody wants it to be worried about getting hit by golf carts. But that it also right now you're kind of trapped on the other side of chain link fence, which is one of the ongoing themes of being anywhere near that golf course, is that it feels like at every turn there's fence.
That condition actually has been changed and altered. So the pedestrian portion of that's been removed because it was structurally unsound. So now the pedestrians actually share the existing bridge with the cart path and their signage. So the pedestrian path, the fence opens up, you walk across the bridge, and then you go back into the path. So currently it's a shared situation, which is
shared. And does that have any problems with that? Is it working?
Yeah, it is working, but I mean, ideally, we'd like to have two separate areas so there's not a conflict. I mean, it is a situation where the golf carts would have to wait, and there is the potential for blind spots and people entering. But there's signage now, and like I said, it hasn't been a major problem. But obviously, we prefer to have a brand new bridge that is designed for both the carts and pedestrians.
Bob, yeah, but that is what you're going to do once you proceed with the new bridge, right? I mean, it will be clearly
Yes.
set off pedestrian side from the golf.
Again,
course.
we're pre-designed, but that certainly would be one of the design criteria.
Right, okay, just wanted to check on that.
Yeah, and to minimize fencing though, like you don't need a 9-foot fence to protect the golf carters. Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
So let's see, what else so the removal of the invasives at the perimeter was something that came up a lot, that the perimeter of the golf course has you've got fence in poor condition, which I think we talked about before. I don't know if I'm entirely convinced that you need all of the fence that is there, that there are lots of natural boundaries where folks aren't really going to roam onto the golf course naturally. What do you, Bob, I see you're shaking your head, like you don't agree?
I think in the past, before there was fencing all around the golf course, there were in fact instances where people trespassed onto the golf course, which is why there is as much fencing as there is. Whether that would still be the case today, I don't know, but you're certainly right, Deb, that there are several places on the perimeter of the golf course where trees have come down. The fence is basically down at ground level, and anybody who wants to could walk onto the golf course.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, the fencing can be repaired in multiple places.
Right.
So just so you're aware, there are certain, as part of the new RFP, we are looking into the possibility of removing some fencing where in locations where it does not make sense, because frankly, and we have 14 golf courses throughout the city. If someone wants to break into a golf course, the fence does not stop them. They will cut holes in it. They will knock them down, and it becomes a little bit more of a maintenance and more of an expense for them to continue to fix them and to put them up, and then literally the next day or the next week for them to be cut and to put down again. So what we're looking at as part of the new concession is to remove fencing in areas where it does not make sense, to replace some fencing in areas where we would like to continue having it. But in those areas where there have been break-ins, we are considering some additional security measures at those particular holes.
Okay. What about electric golf carts? Has that become kind of a standard ask at this point?
It has actually, and we did solicit for several of our golf courses in the last 2 years, and I can tell you that for all of these courses, and I think there are about 6 of them, all of these courses have plans to phase in and replace the gas golf carts with electric carts in the future, and that's something that we would likely look for in this particular case.
Okay. What about the Audubon Sanctuary certification? That's just kind of the certification that all of the plants and are kind of environmentally sound, and it seemed, particularly because of the sensitivity around Van Cortlandt Lake and the wetlands, that it might be particularly valuable there. I know that when we spoke to the Van Cortlandt Golf concessionaire before, his other golf course did have that certification. Is this something that you're also you've been written into any of your other concession agreements?
Actually, that certification, if applicable and if it's feasible, it exists in all of our RFPs. But it's not a one-size-fits-all model, and sometimes it is actually very, very expensive and not practical. So this is something that we would look at in this case. So we can't answer that question for you all today, but I can tell you that is something that we're actively discussing.
So regarding the golf carts, right now they're stored right up against the lake. I know that's, I mean, certainly because they're fuel driven, they're gas driven,
Right.
that's been a particular bone of contention, having them right against the lake like that. Is there a world where they can just simply be moved further back from the edge?
Tony, do you want to answer this one?
Sure. Well, if it is converted to electric, then certainly it would have to be they would have to be housed in a structure. So that design would have to go through all the approval process. And yes, we probably be required to move it away from the water's edge. But even if it's not, even if we don't convert and we still keep them outside, we can definitely look at cleaning up that. I mean, one of the priorities would definitely be the how the concession meets the water's edge. So that's something we definitely would ask all the proposers to take a look at.
So, what about the restaurant? Can we talk about the restaurant for a minute? I mean, I know that there have been struggles just simply because of lack of electricity there. That's not the fault of the concessionaire at all. But it does seem like a real missed opportunity. When I go over to like Wave Hill isn't a restaurant itself, but they've got great performances, and Great Performances does an outstanding job of having food that's available, that's really easy, and like some affordable options and things like that. And it seems like the current way that the current concessionaire is primarily focused on golf, which I can't blame a golf concessionaire for being focused on golf, but that the restaurant really suffers. And particularly the location of it is such a beautiful spot. It's a historic building. It just seems like there's a lot more that could be done with it. And I don't know, like, how are you approaching the restaurant, and how do you improve a situation like that?
So, so firstly on Great Performances, we have a very good relationship with Great Performances. They actually operate at Woolman Rink in Central Park. They operate the food
Yeah, they
service
do a great job
facility
there
there.
too.
But
Yeah.
using that example, Great Performances is a sub-licensee of Woolman Rink, so they don't have a separate and standalone concession agreement with the Parks Department. It's part of a larger concession agreement for the operation of the rink. And where in instances where we've had restaurants that were separate and apart from the golf courses, I can tell you that the restaurant component has been a very, very big challenge to make successful. When the restaurant or a catering facility is part of a larger golf course facility, that's where we see that success. All of our concession agreements contemplate the possibility of sublicensing portions of that operation to other operators, subject to Parks' final review and approval. So what that means is, if there was interest from the food service industry to open a restaurant at Van Cortlandt Park, that is possible. And I think I spoke about this when we mentioned this a couple of years ago. That is already a possibility. However, what we haven't seen is interest from the food service industry to actually open a restaurant here. If we receive that type of interest, we would get the golf course operator and potential restaurant operators in the room together, have them try to negotiate a sublicense agreement, and then ultimately, if they are able to work something out, Parks could approve something like that. But I've been with Parks for close to 20 years. Tony's been around for even longer. We have not received any interest from restaurant operators to do something here. And if we did, we would have that conversation with them, and we would encourage them to talk to the golf course operator. And especially because the operator, as you said, Deb, is interested in golf, right? That's the primary purpose of the facility. It's going to be a shared facility. Anytime you have a shared facility, it's the best interest of the city to have one operator responsible for it. Now, they can sublicense, or they can work with other operators and bring them in to manage that food service component. And that works in a harmonious way. But we just have not seen that demand from the food service industry to open a restaurant here. We will, take your feedback to heart, and I think we can consider encouraging additional outreach and seeing what other food service opportunities are available. But I think part of the RFP process that we're doing now is a fresh start. And so I think this is a good opportunity to try to get some other food service operators here. I can tell you that the current operator at Van Cortlandt has a very, very successful operation at Douglaston Golf Course in Queens. They have a full restaurant and catering facility there, and that is operated by a sub-licensee. So that's the type of scenario that we think could work here. But we do need to see that interest from the business community, from the food service industry.
So, like, for something like Great Performances, like, you've got a relationship with them already.
Right.
Is it like how do we know how do we even ask them? Like, are they interested, or how do like I don't know how to navigate. I don't want to step on your toes by, like as a community board, like we could put out flyers to our own restaurants, or our economic development committee could, let local businesses know if they're, gauge interest. But I don't know what's feasible, what you're looking for in sub-licensees. And then and I don't want to, interfere in what is a contractual, a whole contractual thing, right? I mean,
Sure.
like, do you ever reach out to like someplace like Great Performances and say, hey, there's some other,
Exactly.
I mean, is there like Community Board 8 really loves your work at Wave Hill? Would you ever be interested in Van Cortlandt Park? Is that like an email that we can send, that you can send?
Well, it wouldn't be an email that Parks can send, because ultimately we would be the final approval. And so we need to, the first step is to get the business people together. And when I say the business people, it's the golf course operator and the restaurateurs. And if they are able to work out an agreement, and if there's mutual interest, they would bring that agreement to the Parks Department, and ultimately Parks would review it. So there's nothing that precludes CB8 from reaching out to local restaurants and asking if they would be interested in doing some food service at Van Cortlandt Park. If you receive that interest, we would certainly take that list from you, and we would encourage our concessionaire to have those conversations. And I can tell you, just based on our relationship with the operator, they would not say no. They'll take any meeting with any potential food service operator. But again, what we need to get is that interest from the food service industry.
Yeah, so if I may, just following up on Deb's question, so you don't solicit the outside interest, that would have to come from us or somebody else.
It could, yes, it could come. What we're doing is we're soliciting for the entire facility, which includes food service. Right. And so if the community board is interested, you're more than welcome to reach out to your contacts in your district. Obviously, you know them better than we do. They come to you for SLA hearings and other permits and approvals that may be needed that are off of parkland. So you probably have a more extensive list of operators in your district than we do. But also the concessionaire could also have those conversations with those folks.
Thank you.
I would ask that, to the extent that you have recommendations that you want to send to us, you don't have to reach out to them. But if you think that there is a good fit in the district, you can send those contacts to us, and we will have those conversations.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's great. If so, you're gonna put out the RFP, you're gonna get different proposals from different concessionaires. So if you've got is like, I know with the Armory, for example, they solicited community partnerships. So like if you had a concessionaire that was part of their RFP was like, the cafe will have it run by Early Bird, does that give them a leg up if they're also a reputable golf concessionaire?
Well, so we rate right. No, that's a great question. We rate proposals on 5 criteria. We rate it on the operating experience of the proposer. We rate it on their capital and design plans and their overall investment that they're making to this facility. We rate them on their experience and financial capability. We rate them on any sustainable plans for both design and operation of day-to-day operations of the facility, and then we also rate them on the fee offered to the city.
Right. Okay.
So if there is a food service operator as part of their concession plans in their proposal, we would look at that and compare that to the other proposals that we receive.
Got it. Okay. I think that was most of my questions. I see Christina's got her hand up. Christina? Oh, you're gonna unmute you. There you go.
Hi. So I did want to second one of the things you said, Deb, about the location of the golf carts, that it's not great to have them by the lake for obvious reasons. But in addition to that, it's just really unsightly. When you're standing across from the lake and looking at the beautiful view, it kind of ruins it. So if it's possible to move it ideally, but if it can't be moved, just make it look nicer, more pleasing. And I don't know if this is related to the location of where the golf carts are, but another issue I've seen a lot is a lot of the golfers will drive their golf carts right in front of the building. They also drive them through the parking lot, which has caused a lot of issues, especially because we have, children meeting there for school groups, and it can get a little dangerous. I haven't seen anything happen, but it is a concern.
Yeah, agreed. I see a lot of golf carts driving very fast around the golf house. That's for sure. There's a bit of interference there because of there's also the bike path that's there. The bike path is part of that concession, right? Because that needs to be resurfaced, particularly where the roots are coming through the trees that are as you're approaching the golf house.
I think it may be, but I'll in terms of the concession premises, I want to hear from Tony. He's the most familiar with the site and what's on their premises.
I mean, I certainly, again, hear you on the location of the carts. So that's definitely something we'll either screen them, relocated, or like I said, if there's an electric option here, which is going to be a challenge given the electricity issues at the site. So that is something that it's going to take further study. But if we can relocate it away from the clubhouse, away from the lake, I think that's definitely something we're going to encourage. As far as the flow of the golf carts from the parking lot to the clubhouse and to the course, this is a little bit of a tricky course because of the distance from the first hole to the clubhouse, and the parking lot is kind of on the other side, or with those other spaces along. So it's not just one parking lot. So it's a little bit of a challenge to coordinate how to manage the flow of carts. But most golfers do want to drive their carts right to their cars so they can get their bags and not have to carry it to the bag to the
heaven forbid they'd actually have to walk while
yes.
playing golf.
Yeah.
So Deb, I think what in this particular case, that's very specific language, and we don't want to prescribe a particular solution. But after we issue the RFP and we receive proposals, as part of our conversation with the proposers, we can ask them to fine tune plans that they have on safety measures as it relates to a lot of different aspects of the operation. But we'll be sure to have the conversation with them about the golf carts in the parking lot.
That would be great. One other thing just to raise is the community benefit piece. I know that the existing golf course primarily works with very specific schools, and that's kind of their community benefit. I do think it would be helpful to think about just community outreach in general. A lot of people don't play golf as adults. So they did not learn as kids, and they're not going to learn now. And so I think that we do have a really great youth program right next door at the Mosholu Golf Course, and I do think there's this gap where if you don't get golf experience within that first early part of your life, you're never gonna. It's very hard to break in later. The golf course, the equipment is not readily available at the golf house. There's not really renting equipment there. There's a high bar to just try to play a few rounds and try to understand how the game works. And if you walk while you play, it might even be exercise. So I just wanted to raise that. I think it's really hard for the community to get engaged with this sport in particular because they don't have just a community night or something like that where folks can actually come out and play. Even at regular rates, slightly discounted community rates, but it's really the equipment I'm thinking of, that they don't have the easy access to the equipment or to lessons or things like that to try out golf.
Well, that's really important feedback, and that's something that I think we can address as part of the RFP. I'm not sure if you meant that there were folks in the community who never learned golf and may never be interested in golf, and they want to do something else at the site. I can tell you that this particular operator, they were awarded the Latourette Golf Course in Staten Island in the last 2 years, and they actually held a couple of movie nights in the parking lot at La Tourette. And so what that meant was folks who came, and they didn't play golf. They were able to sit in a golf cart, and they were able to watch a free movie that was projected on a screen. And so that's one example of a non-golf related program that I'm not as familiar with this site and what could be feasible here, but I just wanted to just sort of give you an example of a non-golf related activity that could be done successfully at this course for folks who may not be interested in playing golf or learning to play golf. But to your comment on discounted rates and additional outreach to the community for folks to take lessons and be able to get access to that equipment, that's something that we could take back to the team and talk about, including some language to encourage proposers to incorporate those other programs for the local residents and local visitors.
Well, and I love the idea of like just having a non-golf event, like a movie night, or I don't know if that's something the Van Cortlandt Park Alliance often partners with the Van Cortlandt Historic House, the museum to use those grounds, and so I don't know if that's a partnership or is it the golf concession that organized that that movie night at the.
Yes, it was. Yes, and it's the same operator that's here.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Anything else?
Just one last, because I think Mr. Hahn, you said you're not familiar with the site in Van Cortlandt, or did I misunderstand you?
No, I've been to the golf course many times. My father used to play there when I was a kid, so I'm not a golfer myself. I think that's the point I was trying to make, and it's been some time. I'm not as intimately as familiar as what could be feasible here as others, and so we'd have to take another site visit to see what other types of programs could be possible here.
No. The reason I raised that question, and I'm not a golfer either.
Sure.
Anybody who is familiar with the golf house and the location of the golf house knows it's an incredible location.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. You're right there alongside the lake, which is not the lake anymore. It's now Hester and Piero's Mill Pond, but a lot of us still call it the lake. It's a great location. Going back to the issue of trying to do more with the golf house itself in terms of concession. It really is a great property. You've got a parking lot right there, so much going for it. So, I'm glad we've had this conversation because I think we all agree there's a lot of potential there that's as of yet unrealized. But now we understand the process a little more clearly.
Right.
And so we understand where we go from here. That's
right.
all. Thank you.
That makes perfect sense. I think, earlier in our conversation, we talked about food service, and that certainly doesn't have to do anything with golf. And so I think to the extent that we can promote, more regular food service and dining options here could be great, and we all know, and at least the folks on this call know, that this is the nation's oldest public golf course. And we've been in discussions about what restorations could be made to highlight the significance of that clubhouse being there, as a, I don't want to call it a museum because that's not necessarily a parks appropriate use, but other programs and other ways that we can highlight and welcome visitors here to learn more about the original uses here.
Right. I mean, you can always shrink it back down to its original 9 holes. That would be.
I still wouldn't play golf.
Bob says he still wouldn't play. Okay. Somebody had their hand up. I think they've left though.
It was somebody representing
RSC Coach Devin. Did you have a question about the golf course, Coach Devin?
I just did. I wanted to just mention, as far as accessibility, there is the First Tee program is offered over at Moshulu, which has very affordable camp and lessons for kids. And Van Cortlandt is one of the most reasonable courses around as far as pricing goes. So incorporating something like that for a youth camp, where First Tee is a nonprofit that comes in and helps support rotating clubs and accessibility for people to rent clubs, or if not, just give small kids clubs because they grow out of them quick. They have a lot of them there for rent. So there are options for accessibility for the community to get involved in golf there.
Yeah, and that's a great point. I mean, we did kind of raise that one last week, talked to them about having more collaboration with First Tee, but I'm not aware of there being any them kind of taking First Tee up on that. Because I know that the kids at First Tee do like to be able to play a full size golf course at some point. So yeah.
My son loves it, and he even with me when he plays from the first tees, they set up kind of tees about 50 yards up from the advanced tees, and the kids kind of play right along with the adults. It's great.
Oh, that's cool.
We can absolutely include some additional programming requests here for the future RFP. I do want to note here that for Mosholu, First Tee is not just programming it. First Tee is the actual concessionaire at Mosholu. And so in some ways, the current operator and First Tee, though they have very different business models because one is not for profit, they are competitors. And theoretically, there's nothing that precludes First Tee from proposing on this RFP if they were interested. But that doesn't mean that whether or not First Tee is the operator at Van Cortlandt, that whoever is the successful proposer for the next RFP, we would encourage them to work with Parks in our recreation division, our not-for-profit partner, the City Parks Foundation, and other groups like the PSAL, to work with, as Deb mentioned, to work with local schools and to set up other programming for kids, because that is the best way to grow the game is to do outreach to the kids.
And I assume it's the 141 home field turf.
Okay, so I think I'll pull it back in. So I think we've got some really good feedback. I'll put it together in a list format and I'll send it out to the committee. And then I know, Alex, you have Angel told us there was a deadline of December 22nd. And so we'll get you just a letter with our recommendations ahead of the holidays, if that works.
We appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Okay, wonderful. Well, we appreciate you. Thank you so much, both you and Angel, for coming on tonight and giving up your Thursday evening to spend some time with us talking about golf. We like it.
Anytime.
Thank you. Have a good.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Take care.
Alrighty. So next, I think that brings us to old business, which is stadium. The soccer is coming in with new business.
Oh, okay.
So I think they're here. So on old business, the Parks Resource Guide. I just wanted to update the universe through our minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So we've made an update to the map. Mark is not here. The dots don't line up where the parks are. So we'll have to figure out how to fix that. Because I looked at the numbers too, and the numbers don't seem to have any relationship to the names here. So I'm not sure. There's something going on that's funky.
I know Miriam did the plotting, so I'm not really sure.
Because this says like 13 is here in the Hudson River, and it's it's Riverdale Park, so it's at least kind of close. But like none of the reservoir parks are here.
Right.
That was my first clue that something was up. And then this says 10. Is that Bailey? Yeah, so this says like Marble Hill Playground is here, but that's really closer to where Bailey is. So something's up.
I'm not sure. If maybe it
Should be over
was
here.
what she was using to do it. I'm not sure. Were we waiting on like an updated map or no?
Nope.
No.
Yeah, no. So we should just take another look. I can send the note to Martha. I don't know if you want to take the lead on fixing the dots, or
She has the main document.
She has the main document?
Yeah,
Okay.
she plotted it, so I'm not really sure what she used in regards to.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did respond after I saw it.
Yeah.
I knew it wasn't, the locations and the names of the parts weren't matching up.
Yeah.
I'll go through it when I can, but I don't know how soon I can do that.
Yeah, I've been slammed as well within the holidays. I do also want to call out that Bob put together a parks handicap accessibility list of the ADA features at all of the parks in the district, which I think is great. There was something called sensory play elements, and I'm not sure what those are. So
I'm not either. They have to do, there were two categories, so autistic children and then children who had physical disabilities such as, vision, hearing, that sort of thing.
Right.
But honestly, I intended and I still intend to go to a couple of these parks and
Just to see.
find out for myself what this is.
Right.
Because, all I saw was the entry in the Parks Department playground websites, but I don't myself know what it means either.
Right. Stephanie, in
Yeah.
your professional expertise, can you tell us what a sensory play element for an autism spectrum child is?
I can't, I'm not familiar with that.
I think
Okay.
some of the parks have like these toys or something like along like, I don't want to say the fences, but they have them there. Cause I mean, when I walked my dog, I saw somebody playing with something like on a
So,
wall or
so
something.
Van
like
Cortlandt
that.
Park, so
Yeah.
Classic Playground has sensory elements for autistic spectrum children. It also has inclusive play elements for auditory, tactile, and visual impairment. Also, the Northwest Playground has sensory play elements for autism spectrum children.
Mhm.
So, not sure what that is. So,
Maybe
We'll
Joe
figure-
Magneri might know too. I mean, we could ask Joe as well.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, whether he will or won't, I don't know, but it can't hurt. But yeah.
Right,
but
the
I'd
other
like
stuff
to-
I kind of knew what it was, and it might be
Yeah.
something too where we could put little pictures, and there's nothing precluding us from putting like examples of what is a mobility transfer and accessible swings under age 5 or those types of, so people know what the swings are when they see them.
Yeah.
Um,
Some of the language is strange, for instance, is strange because it says water-based play.
yeah,
I think that's what the rest was called sprinklers, right?
yeah. I like also
So-
ground level water play. Is that like a puddle? That's the ground level water play. Yeah, you and
All right.
Park Playground has ground level water play. All right, so we're making progress is what I have to say on our and we'll continue to make progress
Mhm.
in the new year after the holidays. So that's the only old businesses or unresolved business or whatever it is we call it, old business now, unfinished business. Is there anything else? Any other unfinished business?
No.
All right, new business. Is there somebody from the Riverdale Soccer Club? Are you gonna be speaking or talking about the condition of it, or is there?
Also, Devin's on. Michael seems to have disappeared. Michael, I'm gonna be able to.
Oh, is Michael on the phone?
He was on the call and then he left.
Oh, gotcha, okay. Does anybody need to share a screen or just speak?
I brought
Okay.
like physical pictures. So, hello.
All right, so the floor is yours. Tell us about the.
It's more about the turf condition in the stadium.
Mhm.
It's unsafe. We've had to cancel, we haven't actually canceled the games, but the referees or the officials that come
Mhm.
have actually canceled the games because they felt the turf was unsafe for the children to play. We have pictures of the turf. Stephanie's well aware, she gets emails from Michael on a regular basis about the condition of the turf. And she definitely helps us in coordinating with parks to get them fixed, but the Band-Aids are just not enough.
Yeah.
It's almost like you fix one spot and then, the next day there's another hole and it's an ongoing battle. I know it's slated to be redone. I was on a meeting maybe a year ago about the entire stadium is supposed to be redone. I don't know if the turf is part of that project or another project or what we have to do to get the turf fixed.
Yeah, so for context, the turf is slated for replacement as part of a state of good repair project. And I have to say I'm surprised that it's not done already because that was funded a while ago. And so I had the impression, particularly since it was a state of good repair project, that it would have been done this year, last year. My understanding is that it's currently slated for 2027. Stephanie, can you speak to whether that's fiscal year 2027 or calendar year 2027?
It's calendar year 2027.
Okay. So that's for the big project. But just to confirm, Stephanie, do you know if or it's Valerie Davis isn't still on the call, right? Valerie, is that you down there?
Yes, Deb, I'm still here.
All right, I'm gonna put you on the hot seat for a second. The stadium project. so we know the stadium study was underway last year. Is this turf project being coordinated at all with any stadium work? Is it completely separate? It's completely separate.
Completely
And it's
separate.
still happening, right? There's not any is there going to be any changes to the configuration of the track as part of the results of the stadium study?
So again, these are two very separate. I'm sorry, Valerie, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead,
they're-
Stephanie. Yes, because you're best to answer that question.
Yeah, so they are very, very different. So the State of Good Repair project is what it sounds like. The city will repair something like almost exactly the same as it was. So there won't be any design changes, right? It's just let's fix what's wrong with this thing. The stadium project is a completely different, a reimagining of the area, and right now there's no plan to do anything. I think that there were studies done to sort of assess what can be done, but there's no direction yet for what will be done.
And I gotta admit, the only thing that makes me more crazy than the fact that the State of Good Repair project, which should be just a repair, hasn't been done after I think is at least 3 years, is that it looks like it's slated to be done and then ripped up again a few years later for whatever we're gonna do in 2029 or 2030 for the stadium project, right? We're not even going to get the full use out of it, because it's very likely that stadium itself is going to be reconfigured in some way that would impact the turf, right? And I don't want to. I want to direct that at Valerie, my pent up rage, more than Stephanie, because I feel like I want the Parks Department as a whole to prioritize this. And I don't know why it feels even wrong to ask that. Doing it 3 years later is prioritizing it. It's, if I'd asked 2 years ago to prioritize it and it was getting done now, that would seem right. But it seems like it should just be getting done now. It should already be part of the 2026 work. So Valerie, what's fallen in the cracks here? Why is it not getting done?
Yes, this is on the commissioner's radar. I will take your concerns back to her, and we will get an answer back to you.
And let me just say too. I mean, Commissioner Iris was mentioned earlier on the call. She is a lover of the Bronx, and she's a lover of this park. And I worry. I want to make sure that this project is done and started and done, I guess. While she's still commissioner, can help us prioritize it, right? I mean, she's actually the commissioner for all of the Parks Department, and it would be even worse to think that the Bronx might lose out on this opportunity to have this money spent in this way in a expeditious manner. Feels like a delay means it's not going. It's at risk of not being done or being done not done later because of the stadium project. It's not being done now because it hasn't been done now, and it's apparently it hasn't been started. But that if we wait, it's just not going to be done later for different reasons, and it just is completely upsetting. And so that's my 2 cents about this. I do appreciate that Commissioner Ponte, she notified the office that her office was going to be inspecting the site this week, and that they would be getting back to us with the short-term repairs, which what is your need in terms of timeline? When is your season?
Our season starts in April.
Your season starts in April, okay.
We're not the only community organization that uses the stadium either.
Mm-hmm.
There's the school across the street uses the Success Academy.
Okay.
I think is right on Manhattan College Parkway and Broadway there.
Mhm.
Their school uses the field all the time. There's a community football organization. Bronx Youth Soccer uses the stadium for stuff.
Right.
I mean, there's tons of schools that do field day.
Yes.
There, you'll see hundreds of kids out on that field.
I have the picture. The turf is ripped. There's holes.
Right.
Like potholes in the in some respects, some days of the week, the grass is better than the stadium.
What causes, is it just wear and tear that causes that, or is it weather?
I think
that
it's this
causes
point, it's just
It's age.
past this,
Yeah.
I've been living in Riverdale almost 30 years, and I think that's still the same turf.
Yeah.
You know, it's like your roof,
Right,
at this point, it needs to be replaced.
Right,
You can only replace so many shingles before the whole thing,
right.
and it's there.
Coach Evan?
Go ahead, Deb.
I know it's recorded, so if you wouldn't mind, I can share some pictures for context of just what a patch looks like, and
Sure.
what the if I'm allowed to, I think I can.
Yeah. Can you share? Okay.
I don't know what I'm sharing.
You're sharing your phone. It says you are sharing screen.
How do I? Here we go.
There
That's
we go.
my wife.
Are you sharing pictures of me?
So I could start. So here's what a basic patch looks like. But let me show you. This is how it tears up. It basically has the consistency of an indoor carpet, which was great in the early 90s for turf. It is not the
Right.
current safe turf that has padding to it, so it hurts to go down on. So the football team that does play there does deal with some holes. That's my duct tape work there that we kind of put over some of the bigger holes. We'll fill it in with whatever we can find. There's some extra turf laying around. This is on the field. That's a hole, that's gravel underneath it. So we're trying to play soccer, sports. Or I can go sideways if that's more helpful.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's gravel underneath. And so we'll fill that in with whatever we can find, grass, dirt, and then tape over it. That's my tape after some rainstorm. It's not as good. These are the seams that get pulled up. It's basically an indoor carpet after 30 years of exposure. So that's a patch. But the problems with the patch is that the patches are 1.5 inches high. So you'll trip over those as well. So the patch itself is kind of not the same height as the field.
Oh, the new turf
Yeah,
is
the new
thicker.
turf,
Right.
the replacement turf, they don't make that turf anymore, so they're using, the newer style turf, and it's, and it looks like sod, like you would sod your, except it's artificial.
Right.
That's one of the holes that's about, 4 to 6 inches deep and gravel
Right.
underneath. This is a
So,
bunch of patchwork.
It's horrible.
Yeah, it's a horrible condition.
This is the goal line, actually. This is
Yeah,
what the
you're saying
goalie is
what-
standing on.
The worst parts are actually right in front of the goal.
Right.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Yes,
Yeah.
and if you look at a grass field, that's usually where the grass is the most torn up as well.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, just to go back to, I guess maybe to Stephanie. So as far as minor repairs versus the big, actually replacing the whole thing, what does minor repairs look like when it's in such poor condition? That isn't, it seems like it would be almost replacing large sections of it in order to do any kind of repair that it has even sections and they're the same height,
So that's what we went out this week to look at. So we were all on site. There were a lot of us. Commissioner Ponte was with us, just trying to get a sense of what the situation is. I mean, I've certainly shared information previously, but for her to see it herself, and what's going to happen now is the team is going to try and figure out what the short-term repairs look like. And like you're saying, Deb, the small patches are probably not the answer. It does seem like they're like the best course of action would be to have very, very large swaths of it replaced. So we're just waiting to hear back what that's going to look like. So there was a team who does repairs for the city looking at it, and they're assessing, and they're going to get back to us. And they will get back to you, of course.
Right. So as far as advocating, you can stop sharing, Devin.
If I can figure out how, let me see. Am I still sharing?
Yeah. You want to, I think you can unshare him, Carol.
There we go.
There we go. All right, perfect. So as far as advocacy, like we want to make sure that this is elevated, that folks know that we care about this a lot, and this is ridiculous, and that someone's going to get hurt, right? The city worries all the time about liability, and then has little gravel pits in the middle of its soccer fields. So, is this a matter of writing to citywide services or to the commissioner's office? Valerie, how do we help you and help us and help all of the folks who use this course get action on this ASAP.
Well, you
Because
can
we're gonna
always
need to
start
jump over we're gonna have to jump over some other project, right? I mean, there's other people who are in line. This is not a, unlimited source.
Deb, I'm sorry, are you
Well,
talking
you
about
know, I'm not
the
capital, but you can always send your concerns, your concerns directly to the commissioner, and she will get back to you because I'm not the capital person, so I can't address that. I can only take your concerns back to the commissioner.
Okay.
Just for
Yeah,
clarity
Stephanie.
though, Deb, can you just clarify, do you mean for the short-term repairs that need to happen before April, or are you talking about the State of Good Repair capital project?
Well, it seem like the short-term repair is gonna require replacing a lot of the existing turf. And once you're replacing a lot of existing turf, why are you not just finishing the capital? Like, I mean, maybe I should take a step back. The capital project, is it anything more than replacing all of the turf? I mean, is it a complete
The capital
replacement of
project it is actually, the State of Good Repair project is actually more extensive than that. There's drainage issues that they would try and address. So this really is a Band-Aid. And I hear what you're saying about spending money now and then spending money again and then spending money again. Is it the best way to go? I don't know, but this is where we're at. And so I do know that Commissioner Aponte is taking everybody's comments really seriously. And so I think that the short-term fix will happen. I don't think that there's anything wrong with continuing to be in touch with her, whether it's through Valerie or directly with Commissioner Aponte. I think that that's a great way to go. The other question is about the State of Good Repair capital project. And I think that advocating for that to move faster, you can also push for that. I think there are two separate things.
Okay, and then if we're advocating for that to move faster, that really is more with the commissioner of parks, right? That's not something that the borough commissioner controls, or do they both? Or is it both of them together?
I would say both together.
Okay. Yeah, Bob.
Yeah, my concern with doing the patchwork, the improvement, is that it's going to push back the full capital repair because somebody's going to look at it and say, well, okay, right now it's all right, I mean, it just, as you said, Stephanie, it's a Band-Aid where we need surgery. And that's my concern that, look, I mean, anything that can improve it is a good thing. But the same problem's going to come up again. It's just a matter of time. You patch it up, okay, maybe it'll be good for a season, and then it's going to start to come apart once again. What we really need is the full capital project. But I understand, I know all about money in the Parks Department and so on, and the long line of people who need capital projects. I just hope that the 27 date, we're still in 25 right now. Calendar 27 could be December 27 for all we know. I just worry about how long that's going to be put off. To me, the most telling fact here is that some of the matches have had to be called off by the officials because they found the conditions to be dangerous. This is a really serious problem.
Yeah.
And I know you know that, Stephanie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, whatever will move the full restitution forward seems to me to be the best solution.
I know this is a capital project. Does it need, but because it's State of Good Repair, does it need to go through design and procurement, or is it just you've got an existing standing team and they'll come in and they'll do the whole capital project, soup to nuts?
So, as I understand it, I'm not an expert. I think that there are standard contractors that they work with for these State of Good Repair projects so that they can be moved forward faster and that there isn't like a design process because you're just fixing apples for apples. So that's, in the best case scenario, it moves faster because of that.
Have you ever been given a time frame for how long the capital project itself would take, the State of Good Repair project?
I have
not.
Like,
is it a year? That that's like they have to close it off, or is it 6 months? Is it
I have not, but I would guess it would not be 6 months, so.
not 6 months because obviously it would be longer, or not 6 months?
I think it would be longer. I think it would be longer, but I can't speak to it because I don't know the time.
Right, okay. Timelines unknown. Okay, well, so I guess what I would like to do is, we can draft a letter, to go to
Commissioner Ponte?
Commissioner Ponte advocating for the short-term repairs.
Mhm.
And the long-term, and then I guess another letter that's,
Well, you can put it in
both.
Yeah, whatever you think is best, yeah.
Like maybe we do one letter. Maybe what we should do is today's Thursday. We give her till next week to come back to us with a time frame of what they're gonna do. I mean, Stephanie, you think that next week is reasonable for getting back to us, and then on the short term thing, because she's already putting a plan together.
I think next week probably. I mean, yeah.
You'll take a minute to write the letter anyway.
We already have another letter going, don't we, for
Concessions.
or
That's just mostly a list.
Oh, okay.
Dear kind sir, in the list, and then this is a darn you listen, lady, and
But I
the
think
list.
DDC also wanted a letter about the restroom too.
That's just, but the office will send that. They'll send the resolution.
Okay.
But yeah, I hear you. I'm gonna be busy this weekend. All right, so we'll send a letter to these two folks regarding these two things, and I'll send it out to the committee for everyone to take a look at first.
Sure.
All right. Anything else anybody would like to say about on this topic? Michael Amabile?
Hey, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, just really briefly, I want to thank the community board for entertaining this and thank Stephanie for the work. I had to step out of a work event, but yeah, I just think it really 6 months to replace it, that is like untenable, because no matter what, it's going to essentially interrupt the whole season. We have to work harder and push harder to have this happen in the summer of 2006. And if it can't happen then it's going to happen in the summer of 2007. But like missing whole seasons, it's just unrealistic. Turf fields are replaced all the time in less than 6 weeks. I think we can do it. I really hope that we're grateful for the attention that we've gained here. Let's all work hard to make that happen. If not this summer, then the following summer, but let's really work hard to make the summer of 2026 when all of this gets done. If we have to do the patch repairs for the spring season, so be it. But, it's not just soccer kids, it's football kids, it's families, it's others that are on that field all the time. So thanks for your attention. Let's keep going. We're not going to stop until it gets replaced in 2026.
Okay.
If I may say something, I would just say based on past experience, you're going to lose a season, period. There's no way around it. I remember when the ball field in Vinmont Park required repair because of drainage problems and so on. They lost an entire season. The Parks Department doesn't do its work in December, January, and February. They do their work, outdoor work, when everybody else does their outdoor work, when the weather's a little better.
That's what I said. I said in the summers. I wasn't expecting anything to happen in the winter months, Bob. Let me be clear.
Yeah. No, but I hear you. I would just say, be prepared for the fact that you could lose a season. That's all. I mean, look, we all are on the same page here. We all know what we want, which is to get this fixed and get it fixed permanently, and to do it as soon as we can.
And as quickly as possible.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. At some point, though, it will take several months to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It will.
Just to insert, June, July, and August is when there are not seasons happening there. And it is the Atmosphere Middle School, the Atmosphere High School, RKA 141 varsity soccer, as well as Riverdale Soccer, 3 teams, as well as I know Manhattan Soccer uses the field. Sometimes you can ask the permitting people how many people use that field. A lot of teams will be impacted and improved if we could get this done this summer. I think June, July, and August, a 3-month window is a nice target. If we could push forward, it'd be much appreciated. And I thank you all for your passion on this one. I think we're all on the same page to get this done. Thank you.
Can I ask a question, Stephanie?
Yeah.
The parade ground soccer fields are heavily used on the weekends. How much are they used during the week? Could that be could some of these matches that take place in the stadium be moved to the parade grounds?
Everything is in use. Because
now.
everything's in use. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, any other questions on this topic? Okay. Any other new business? All right then, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second, all right, the meeting is over at 8:55.
Thank you all.
All right, thank you,
All right,
everybody.
have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. 8:55.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, thanks, Michael. You can end the recording?
Well, there it is. End meeting for all.
Yeah, oh, well,
But we'll do it, right?
yeah,